My name is Jerry Lewis. I live in San Rafael, California. My profession was primarily real estate and investments and finance. The only advice I had, because I came from a single mom family, was from a father of a girlfriend in my senior year in high school. And I asked him, he was head of the Dad's Club, and I asked him, could he give me advice on what I should study in school and what field I should go in? He said accounting. And so I went to University of Oregon and enrolled in accounting, and after 39 hours of accounting, well in excess of my major requirements, I worked for a CPA and determined quickly that I was not going to enjoy a career in accounting after all of that. So I interviewed with Xerox and became a salesman. And I was the #1 salesman in Portland for the state of Oregon, and got a promotion the first year to sales manager in San Francisco. And we had the top Western region sales team for the first year, and then going into the second and third year. I think that solidified my ability to do sales, and so I took it from there. And I decided that I should interview with a venture capitalist so I could take my accounting into finance and sales. So I became the advisor for a venture capital firm that was receiving funding from offshore mutual funds. And I acquired or started up 13 small companies. One was actually a company I acquired out of Braintree, Massachusetts, which was the first internet company between the Harvard and Yale at the time. And that took me into all sorts of ideas for a computer programming school and a number of different companies that we set up at that point. Well, before Xerox, my first job out of college was as a salesman for Willamette Valley Company out of Eugene, Oregon. And I was promoted to CEO of the subsidiary in Vancouver, Canada, and moved up there with my family. And with sales experience with Xerox and that, particularly the management end of it too, setting up warehousing and everything we did up there, I decided to get into the real estate investment side of it because I started to understand more about property values. And I wrote a letter to all of the real estate investment trusts on the East Coast, and there was 52 of them at the time. And all of a sudden I developed a clientele that made me #1 my first year in the real estate business with Coldwell Banker. There was 2,600 salesmen. That meant commission income for Coldwell Banker in 1972, and as a result I had income to shelter from taxes. So I got into pistachio nuts by buying 80 acres over near Madera, near Fresno, and developing that from scratch. And we put in 9,200 trees, and it was 100% deductible, all my costs, and I actually borrowed 100% of the money, so I was leveraged out on that. It took 8 years to get the first crop, but I held on to that investment. This year was the 50th year of my involvement in the pistachio business, and I was one of the first farmers, small farmers in that business 50 years earlier in the industry. And California now is the #1 producer over Iran. I sell my crop to Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful produces, and they grow and process about 2/3 of the entire billion-pound pistachio market. And they're doing very well. They're obviously paying the best price to get the most growers to sell to them. So I just grow, and then they take the crop right from the field. Well, I think the farming got me interested in the land and looking at soils and environments. And And I've always been a mountain biker for many, many years. And I've also been a marathoner runner. And so I'm an outdoors person. I like camping. I was a Boy Scout. And I'm a fly fisherman since a bunch of us formed a group back in the 80s to fly fish and as a club. I recently took on the ownership by leasing via lease to combine all of these hobbies in a property up near the Oregon border called Sugar Creek Ranch. And Sugar Creek Ranch is about 60 acres with 8 ponds on them, and I filled them with fish and fed the fish and made them up to 8-10 pound rainbow trout. And through the fly shop in Redding, we marketed that property, and fishermen came in, and I created a campground. You know, my desire to do camping for kids and all the other opportunities that that property gave me, I put in a nice campground and really enjoyed it. My faith started primarily as a kid. My mother always sent me off with a dime in my hand to give to the church, and I would walk with my sister, and on the way home I would probably keep that dime and buy candy on the way home. But the fact that she installed a belief in me at an early age, in 1971, when I was 30 years old, my family and I were at a church called Valley Baptist Church here in San Rafael, and I got a call in my head that I needed to get a closer relationship with God, and so I walked down the aisle and received Christ as my personal Savior. And from that point, my life changed. I focused more on my family and my daughters. I have 3 daughters, and I have 8 grandchildren now and 3 greats. And because of my faith, I think you know, everything's really working out very well. The fact that I had girls, all 3 girls, and a girl dog, and so I grew up with girls, so to speak, and enjoy them. I didn't think I ever would have time for boys in my life because I was so busy business-wise, time-wise, to give to sports and all of that. So my wife played a huge role as the heart of the home for the girls, and I was the head of the house for sure, but she gets all of the credit. Unfortunately, Kathy passed away earlier this year, and I'm here in a retirement facility now with 300 other people, and my life has changed dramatically. But God's with me, and every day I get up to a new challenge, which is exciting. This place is called Smith Ranch Homes. It's on 30 acres in San Rafael. There's 300 residents, 250 homes, condominiums primarily, and some villas. And they have a program that basically keeps you on the campus and has, like tomorrow morning on Saturday, I'll be putting with a group, a competitive group, and they have croquet and bocce ball and all sorts of things to do. And then they have water aerobics and exercise classes. I am so busy. I don't have any time to do the old things. I'm having trouble booking fishing anymore. I'm so busy here. So this is my new life, and I'm enjoying it. I get up every day and I pray that God will give me some challenge that will please Him. And it's amazing what happens each day in my life. It just seems like I run into new people that somehow focuses on faith and in our lives and how we got to be this old and what we intend to do in the future. But I think the fun of being within a community like this of 300 people is a whole new life for me, and most people don't experience that. I would recommend it. In 1972, I took my family for its first vacation together down to Mount Hermon Conference Center down in Santa Cruz, California. And we spent a whole glorious week together in a camping situation, and with lots of seminars and sermons and so on. And I was solidified in my belief that family was going to be the core of my activities in the future. And so later that year, my wife and I actually chose to take a trip to Israel. And seeing is believing in my mind, because when I got to Israel, I started to see things that I had read in the Bible but didn't know whether to believe, but seeing is believing. And so I solidified my faith that year, and Mount Hermon had a lot to do with it. I keep relating to that experience I had walking down the aisle at the church and giving my life to Christ. And that was the most significant thing that I could have done. I could have gone on in business to have the goal of making $1 billion or whatever men like that do, but I chose not to do that. And God's provided nice living for me, even so. I do have my faith verses from the Bible that I chose as my lifetime verses that I rely on, and there's two of them. One's spoken by Joshua in the Old Testament, where he says, "As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." And sweet and simple. He put his total faith and trust in Jesus, and that's what I chose as my verse to guide me through life. And the second one was Psalm 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plan. So anything I do, if I want to seriously comprehend what I'm getting into, you have to do some planning, and I submit that to the Lord in prayer, and let Him formulate what I'm doing, and hopefully it's the direction that He wants me to go. I would like to be remembered as someone that's generous with his time and is willing to give advice and use his experience to the advantage of the person that I'm advising. And I seem to have the opportunities given to me, and this is my prayer going forward, that I will be having those opportunities, and that the words that I have to say or impart will be the right ones.